Ashcroft blames Clinton-era FBI, CIA. John Ashcroft blamed the refusal of the FBI and the CIA to work together during the Clinton administration for the failure to detect the September 11 plot, quoting an FBI investigator Tuesday as complaining that, "Whatever has happened to this, someday somebody will die." Attorney General John Ashcroft blamed what he called the refusal of the FBI and the CIA to work together during the Clinton administration for the failure to detect the plot for the September 11, 2001, terrorist attacks, quoting an FBI investigator Tuesday as complaining that, "Whatever has happened to this, someday somebody will die." Ashcroft, a focus of fire as the commission investigating the attacks resumed its public hearings, said that for 10 years before September 11, a snarled web of requirements, restrictions and regulations prevented decisive action by our men and women in the field. "Government erected this wall," he said. "Government buttressed this wall. And before September 11, government was blinded by this wall." Ashcroft said he moved quickly once he was in office to overturn a failed policy that allowed U.S. agents to capture terrorist leader Osama bin Laden but not to assassinate him. He testified that he specifically told President Bush's national security advisor, Condoleezza Rice, that we should find and kill bin Laden. He said Rice gave the assignment to the CIA. Ashcroft's picture of an FBI estranged from its counterparts in the CIA built on criticisms of the FBI under former Director Louis Freeh during the Clinton administration and the first months of the Bush administration. The commission's chairman described a new staff report as an indictment of the FBI during Freeh's tenure, while Janet Reno, Freeh's boss during the Clinton administration, said that at the agency, the right hand didn't know what the left hand was doing. Freeh disputes charges. Freeh told the commission that he resented the characterizations. "We had a very effective program with respect to counterterrorism prior to September 11, given the resources that we had," he maintained. Freeh said financial constraints and legal restrictions on surveillance hamstrung his agents. "The biggest problem," he said, was a Justice Department policy that restricted FBI counterterrorism investigators from sharing information even within the Bureau in some cases. "We were using grand jury subpoenas and arrest warrants to fight an enemy that was using missiles and suicide boats to attack our warships," Freeh said. Former acting FBI Director Thomas Pickard and Cofer Black, former director of the CIA's Counterterrorism Center, also complained about inadequate funding and legal straitjackets before September 11, echoing Freeh's testimony that officials did the best they could under the circumstances. Still, some of the blame rested with Ashcroft, according to Pickard. A second staff report quoted Pickard as saying Ashcroft told him in the summer of 2001 that he did not want to hear additional information about possible attacks, an allegation he repeated in his public testimony Tuesday. Ashcroft vehemently denied the charge. "Acting Director Pickard and I had more than 2 meetings. We had regular meetings," he said. "Secondly, I did never speak to him saying that I did not want to hear about terrorism. I care greatly about the safety and security of the American people and was very interested in terrorism, and specifically interrogated him about threats to the American people and domestic threats in particular." Black, arguing that counterterrorism should have had more funding starting in the early 1990s, claimed that, if we had engaged this with a warrior ethos, September 11 would have never happened. Ashcroft criticizes Reno's Justice Department. Ashcroft fiercely defended his performance since taking office, declaring, "Had I known a terrorist attack on the United States was imminent in 2001, I would have unloaded our full arsenal of weaponry against it, despite the inevitable criticism. Every tough tactic we have deployed since the attacks would have been deployed before the attacks. But the FBI was operating under the constraints of the 1995 policy cited by Freeh." Ashcroft said he had declassified the memo that laid out the policy so the commission could review it, noting that its author was a member of the panel, a reference to Jamie Gorelick, who was Deputy Attorney General in the Clinton administration. The memo detailed instructions that were designed to more clearly separate the counterintelligence investigation from the more limited, but continued, criminal investigations, to allay concerns that intelligence information could be used in criminal prosecutions, according to a copy released late Tuesday afternoon by the Justice Department. Ashcroft did not mention Gorelick's name, but according to a commission document obtained by the Associated Press, Picard had already raised questions about her presence on the panel, reporting that Picard found her membership surprising, because she and Reno had developed a policy to counter international terrorism through the use of law enforcement techniques. Ashcroft instead broadly criticized inaction in the final months of the Clinton administration, saying a review of proposals to disrupt al-Qaeda by the National Security Council in March 2000 went unheeded, perhaps because Clinton officials did not have the stomach for the outcry and criticism which follows such tough tactics. These are the same aggressive, often criticized law enforcement tactics we have unleashed for 31 months to stop another al-Qaeda attack. Despite the warnings and the clear vulnerabilities identified by the NSC in 2000, no new disruption strategy to attack the al-Qaeda network within the United States was deployed. It was ignored in the Justice Department's 5-year counterterrorism strategy, Ashcroft said. Reno did not even tell him about the National Security Council report when he became Attorney General, he said, adding that he did not learn of its existence until after the September 11 attacks. It is clear from the review that actions taken in the Millennium period should not be the operating model for the U.S. government, Ashcroft said dryly.